Hello there, people of the internet. This is a question that floats around pretty gosh darn often. And I've actually made videos about this on the channel before, but we do have a lot of new people on the channel, so I'm going to go ahead and make another video on this. It'll be pretty gosh darn quick and simple and easy to follow. So let's go ahead and talk about it. How much ammunition do you need? It depends on the application. It depends on what rifle or firearm in question that we are talking about. It depends on what it is that your capabilities of moving around that ammunition are. It depends on whether or not we're talking about like an end of the world situation or going hunting with your buddies. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the worst case scenario and like a without rule of law sort of prepping setup. Or maybe something happens, natural disaster, you got people rioting and looting, maybe somebody steps on somebody's neck and everybody starts freaking out. Who knows what's going to happen? Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with what most people think about your primary fighting rifle. I don't care if you want to use an AR, I don't care if you want to use an AK, whatever it is you feel like using, as long as you can put lead effectively downrange, that's what matters. So for your primary fighting rifle, we're just going to use that term for lack of better terminology, I recommend having 1,000 rounds of ammo. The reality is that unless something gets really bad, having 1,000 rounds of ammo on standby is oftentimes way more adequate for the average person to be able to handle whatever situation it is that they are needing to handle. Like I said, things have to get way bad for you to go through that 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And if you survive going through that 1,000 rounds of ammunition for whatever purpose, like you are an extremely lucky person. So that 1,000 rounds should be able to get you through pretty much everything that you would need to get through. Get yourself magazines for that firearm. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have ammunition, if you don't have magazines to be able to run it. I recommend 10 mags per firearm. If we're talking about the primary stuff that you're going to be running. Like I said, don't care if it's AR, don't care if it's AK, don't care what caliber you choose. If it's your primary, that's my mark, 1,000 rounds. That's my suggestion. Alright, up next, handgun or sidearm, or I don't know, maybe you got yourself an SMG that you keep strapped to you. Whatever it is, whatever you're going to use as your secondary on person at all times kind of firearm. 90% of people, I'm sure, are going to use handguns. For your handgun, I don't care if it's 9mm or 45 or whatever the hell, I would recommend having 500 rounds of ammo. That just kind of is a good base point, but I'm sure that you could get away with 250. This right here is not a primary firearm. This right here is a, oh god, I don't have my rifle at this current point in time, and I need to defend myself from whatever is coming at me, kind of handgun or kind of firearm system. So definitely not a primary. This is just something that you would have on your person so you have a means of self-defense in the event that you need it. Hopefully you don't find yourself in a situation where that would be the case. But 250 rounds should be more than adequate for an SHTF situation. Mind you, when we're talking about ammunition, we're not talking about training ammunition. We're talking about things that you keep on standby without touching for just in case purposes. I don't care what handgun you go with. I don't care if you go with a 1911 like what I have here, or a Glock, or a SIG, or Smith & Wesson. I don't care if you go with semi-automatic or revolver. That's just kind of the cutoff points. My recommendation would be that 500 rounds. Get magazines, get speed loaders. I'd recommend like, I don't know, let's call it a minimum of 5, but I'd recommend around 10 magazines for your handgun or whatever the hell it is that you have, because magazines do wear out, and it just always helps to have more. Alright, up next, I'm sure somebody is going to talk about having 22 long rifle in the comments down below. Stockpile as much 22 long rifle as you want. Like, that's the reality behind it. It's one of those rounds that you can get a whole lot of for not a lot of money. I know I can go out and get myself like 5,000 rounds of 22 long rifle for like, I don't know, rough estimation, probably about 200 bucks or so. So you can get a lot of it for not a lot of money. This is one of those cartridges where even if you're getting like the cheap bulk stuff, you can do a lot with this. That's going to be a 40 grain projectile traveling at about 1,200 or so feet per second from a full-length barrel like what I have right here. So you should see some pretty gosh darn good results. I definitely wouldn't take it elephant hunting or anything like that, but it would be good to have that option. There's a lot of small game out there, and this right here will basically put any of that small game on the table so you can feed yourself and your family. So get as much of this stuff as you can. I recommend bare minimum, like absolute bare minimum, getting one of those bulk boxes of like 550 rounds or something like that. But dude, like stockpile as much of this stuff as you can. This stuff is worth its weight in gold, especially in terms of like ammo shortages or things like that. This is always the first to go. All right, now comes the fun part. Now comes the part where I'm like, all right, maybe there's some wiggle room here. Now we're talking about your survival rifle. Whatever it is that you decide to pick for a survival rifle, I don't care what it is. If you want a military surplus gun or a modern made gun, something that's 30 cal or 20 cal, 22 cal, 35 cal, 45-70, I don't care. But you want a survival gun, so whenever you're out there hunting and doing whatever it is that you're doing, you're not burning through your defensive ammunition for your primary firearm. Definitely possible to go hunting with your primary firearm, but odds are your primary is going to be an intermediate caliber cartridge, like say 223 or 7.62x39. And although those could absolutely take out medium and even certain large game with proper shot placement, having a full powered rifle cartridge, a designated hunting rifle for going out and getting things, means that you don't have to burn through your defensive ammunition to provide food, and you have a more powerful option in the event that you need a more powerful option for going up against whatever game it is that you're going after. If you go whitetail hunting and then you end up coming across a buffalo, then guess what? You got absolutely the cartridge that could take out that buffalo. So this right here is a 7.62x54R. I don't care what cartridge you go with. I don't care what platform you go with, but this right here is just kind of a representation of what it is that you would look for. I would say in that situation, since you're not going to be mag dumping at whatever it is that you're coming across, 200 rounds to 500 rounds, somewhere in that ballpark would be a good ideal setup for these rifles. They are going to be heavier ammunition. They're going to be tougher to carry. In this particular case, most of them are not going to be inside of magazines. They're going to be inside of boxes. So that does help with carrying a little bit because they're going to be much more in like a much more compact area. So yeah, that 200, maybe 250 to 500 rounds, that would be my recommendation for your survivalist rifle or survivalist shotgun if you feel like going the shotgun route as opposed to the rifle route. They both have their pros. They both have their cons. I don't care what it is that you pick. That is about the point where I would say, hey, aim for that, strive for that. But of course, everything on this list is very, what would I call it? Not set in stone. If you want more ammo, if you're fine with less ammo, by all means, do whatever it is that you want. If you want to go out and get yourself 500 rounds for your AR and then start focusing on other things like food, water, communication, clothing, fire starter, where you're going to go, etc., then that might be a better option because it doesn't matter how much ammo you have if you're just taken out in the city because the city is targeted by who knows what and it turns out to be the most dangerous place. Or maybe you're in some rural area and you're like, hey, I have no idea where to go, and you end up starving to death in, I don't know, give it a month because you have no idea how to survive in that area because you never did some research on that area. There's just so much more to go into a bad situation than ammunition and how much to stockpile. So these are some good base numbers on what to look for your ammunition reserves, and that is stuff that you don't touch for your playing and stockpiling needs, like your just-in-case needs. I don't think I have anything else to add to it, so I'm going to go ahead and do the outro, I guess. Thanks for watching, folks. I do appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.